During the Third Reich, more than 1 million people were held captive in concentration camps. They were brutally punished, exiled, and imprisoned by the National Socialist German Workers' Party led by Adolf Hitler. A long time ago, in an unusual household, a child named Rain lived with her mother in a mansion. Every night, her mother hid her behind the fireplace while Rain's vampire father took advantage of the mother. One night, when her father came, he lost control while drinking the mother's blood, causing her death. Unbeknownst to him, his child watched him devour her mother, leading her to call him a monster. Many years later, during World War II, another monster appeared named Adolf Hitler. The National Socialists surround the railway trains that carry people into concentration camps where they are confined and abused. Meanwhile, a French resistance group headed by Nathaniel Gregor interrupts the National Socialists by bombing their supplies. A small war within a war occurs between the National Socialists and the resistance. Suddenly, Rain, now a pale young woman wearing a leather trench coat, arrives and slaughters the National Socialists in an instant with her extraordinary sword skills. When most men are killed, Rain corners Commander Brand and expresses her disgust about what they do. Unbeknownst to Rain, a soldier is pointing a gun at her back. When the soldier fires his gun, the bullet wounds Rain and splashes her blood into the commander's face. Rain assassinates the soldier and impales Brand on a pole. Rain isn't satisfied, so she also feeds on the blood of the commander. Rain soon meets Nathaniel, who is aware that she's a Dampier, a half-human, half-vampire hybrid. The resistance group mainly corners the railways to gather weapons and ammunition. However, after discovering that the trains contain people instead, Rain and the resistance decide to team up and fight against the National Socialists. They let the people escape before a new batch of National Socialists arrived. At the same time, Commander Brand awakens despite being bitten and struck by a metal pole. In the Resistance's hideout, Nathaniel cooks pig's blood for Rain. Seeing that Rain is getting impatiently hungry, Nathaniel tells jokes to lighten the mood. But no one seems interested in his jokes that even Vasil, his friend, walks out on him. Rain questions their operations, seeing that they cannot help stop the war by just targeting the trains. Rain wants to target the head of the war, but Nathaniel prefers to be on the safe side. In the Third Reich's headquarters, Dr. Wolfgang Mangler tortures vampires to research them, hoping to immortalize Hitler and the Third Reich. Lieutenant Caspar Jaeger, who seems disgusted by his experiment, enters his messy laboratory. He insists on talking outside as he cannot bear seeing the bloody vampire. The lieutenant then informs the doctor that a vampire attacked Commander Brand, which piques Dr. Mangler's interest. The following day, the lieutenant demands an explanation of what happened to the commander. The doctor then tells him that Brand should soon be dispatched as he is now a vampire. He cannot explain what exactly happened to the commander, but the doctor seems disappointed as he doesn't find anything special about it. However, the lieutenant informs him that the assault occurred in daylight, making the doctor interested since vampires are supposed to be weakened by the sun. When they return to the commander's office, they are surprised at how aggressive he has become. The agitated commander knocks off the lieutenant and grabs the doctor by his lab gown. Frightened, Dr. Mangler offers to help him heal and recover. At the same time, Rain heads into a brothel for a massage. She sneaks through door to door as if she's hiding from someone. Later on, as the woman massages her, she overhears a National Socialist soldier beating one of the women. Enraged, Rain quickly grabs a robe and confronts him. She immediately strikes the man and crushes his groin. Rain brings the beaten girl outside, forcing the brothel owner to close early, even though this would make the National Socialists suspect that something happened. The owner disregards this and angrily warns Rain not to be a hindrance to her business. Rain simply scoffs at this and walks away. As Rain is about to leave, an unclothed woman stops her and offers a massage as a gift for saving the beaten woman. Svetlana, one of the other ladies, smiles mischievously behind the door before leaving the brothel. Svetlana heads to Commander Brand's office to negotiate a deal. The doctor is doubtful of her, but she insists that her news is worth the price. She senses that Rain is extraordinary by the way she defeated the soldier in the brothel. In return for informing them where Rain is, Svetlana wants to run the brothel she works at since she despises the current owner. Inside the office, Svetlana meets the commander. She informs him about Rain's whereabouts, but Brand flirts with her before he bites her neck. Back at the brothel, the National Socialist soldiers arrive to get Rain. She effortlessly slays the soldiers with her sword. However, when she gets into the brothel's deck, she is surprised to see more of them, including the commander himself. Brand acknowledges her as his mother for turning him into a vampire. Worried, Rain flees to the rooftop, confused about how she turned him into a vampire. Rain is shot, but she brushes it off and flees. The commander is enraged because he wants her alive. Dr. Mangler then arrives at the shooting incident and gathers Rain's blood for further study. Later that day, the doctor continues working on his research by observing Svetlana inside the cage. He throws holy water on her hands and notes that Svetlana inherited a weaker version of the commander's immunity to the sacred water. Svetlana seduces the doctor into going inside the cage where she attacks him. The doctor pours his remaining holy water on her, causing Svetlana to back off. With enough knowledge about the vampires, the doctor uses a stake to stab her, which turns the vampire into ashes. Worried, Rain reunites with Nathaniel and requests grenades and dynamite from him, but he refuses. Rain theorizes that her blood has mixed into the commander's blood, turning him into a vampire. She insists on confronting the National Socialists alone as she feels responsible for making Commander Brand stronger. However, Nathaniel convinces her to calm down and work as a team instead. Rain isn't confident as it may only lead the team to die, but Nathaniel insists that it is a risk they have to take. Vasil then informs Nathaniel that Magda is ready for their plans. Inside a local pub, Magda Markovich meets up with a high-ranking soldier and his assistant. The assistant inspects her clothing and finds no weapon beneath it. Magda proceeds to seduce the high-ranking soldier by sitting on his lap and talking to him enticingly. As the three drink, Magda grabs the gun under the table and immediately shoots the soldier's head. Rain and the rest of the resistance group enter the pub. As planned, they corner the assistant to crack a code they're using to communicate. A little while later, Rain heads out of the pub, believing that everything is under control. But when she walks into an alley, two vampires attack her with swords just like hers. Still, Rain knocks them down. That night, Rain has a nightmare about confronting Hitler, who has turned into a vampire due to her blood. Hitler then bites her to get more of her blood. She wakes up screaming after seeing her fears manifest in her dreams. At the same time, Commander Brand heads into the lieutenant's house to turn him into a vampire. Brand is making an army of vampires, and he believes that the tracking ability of the lieutenant would be an asset. Learning his motives, the lieutenant takes a gun in resistance. However, the commander restrains him and bites his neck. The lieutenant slowly shows symptoms of becoming a vampire. With no time left, Commander Brand lets the lieutenant sniff Rain's blood to track her down alive. On the other hand, Nathaniel finds where Rain lives. Suddenly, Lieutenant Yeager arrives and blames Rain for his transition. Rain attacks him in response. The lieutenant heads towards Nathaniel, but Rain grabs him and throws him off. Vasil takes this opportunity to hit him on his head, wounding the lieutenant. Rain then corners the wounded vampire, who reveals that Brand has Magda and plans to bring her into Berlin. Knowing that his colleague is in danger, Nathaniel bursts into madness. He believes they're losing now that the commander has an army of capable people, including Magda. Rain then stabs the lieutenant in their weak spot, turning him into ashes. Meanwhile, the commander holds Magda hostage. He wants her to be part of his army as she's the most excellent code breaker. Thus, he bites her neck, just like how he did to the lieutenant. That night, Rain and the remaining resistance prepare to get Magda before the National Socialists bring her to Berlin. As Rain sharpens her swords, she contemplates how vampires slowly conquer the world. This worries her as more and more innocent people are put in danger. The following day, the resistance arrives at the train station going to Berlin, but to their surprise, there's no train at all. They quickly get into the building and find Magda tied up instead. When Vasil comes near her, Magda has already turned into a vampire, forcing Rain to finish her. The resistance further inspects the place as they find it suspicious. Suddenly, an army of vampires emerges and attacks them. Unfortunately, there are too many of them compared to the remaining resistance. The commander then stabs Rain at the back and shoots all of them. The National Socialists tie up Rain, but the commander spares Nathaniel as he finds him useful in his army as well. Back at the commander's headquarters, he takes Nathaniel as a prisoner while Rain is hanged upside down. The doctor drains all her blood, believing it could make everyone stronger. Commander Brand then appears and strikes her head before feeding on her blood. He then asks the doctor to prepare her for travel as they will now introduce her to their leader. Later that day, they transport Rain and Nathaniel through a truck on the way to Berlin. Unbeknownst to them, Vasil survived the shootout. He summons some people to help rescue Nathaniel and Rain. They plant detonators under the snow of the supposed path to Berlin. Inside the truck, Nathaniel stares at Rain, who's unconscious after being drained of blood. Upon realizing his feelings for Rain, he attempts to touch her. However, Rain wakes up and strangles him. However, when she realizes that it's Nathaniel, she stops and kisses him passionately. This leads to the two making love. A little while later, when the Resistance perceives their truck, Natalia, a member of the Resistance, shoots the driver, which triggers the explosion of the detonators. Nathaniel and Rain escape the truck and help the Resistance fight against the National Socialists. Meanwhile, the commander drinks Rain's blood while Dr. Mangler flees, hoping to run to Berlin on foot. However, Natalia spots him and shoots, killing him instantly. When the commander focuses his attention on Vasil, Nathaniel attacks him. The commander throws him easily, gaining more strength after consuming Rain's blood. Rain remains stronger and beats the commander, crushing his head with a massive rock. Despite their victory, the war is not yet over, so Rain, Nathaniel, and the Resistance gather all the ammunition they need as they prepare themselves for the final fight. That night, the vehicle finally arrives in Berlin. When the truck opens, Rain jumps off, catching the army of National Socialists off guard.